Bam.
Okay.
Oh, I should start the recording too. It is being live streamed. Okay. And close. Where's my record? Yay. Oh, record. Okay. Bam. Okay. Oh, I should start the recording. That's me. Oh, stop. Didn't mean it. Didn't mean it. Go back. Create live stream. They've changed the interface here. There we go. Patron zone. Why does it always want to schedule this? I don't understand how you schedule a live stream. Maybe it's just, maybe it records.
Okay, it's 2 o'clock.
Yep. I am starting the webinar.
Okay.
And I have started the live stream and I've started the record. I've started all the things. And we have peoples. Hello, peoples. We've been scurrying around trying to get ready and haven't even had our normal little chit-chatty thing. So, but I can see through your window that the weather is nice there. Is it hot, Mom?
It's not hot. No, it's a perfect day today. Kind of in the low 70s. It's supposed to get up mid 70s. Then it'll get hotter as the week goes on.
It says it's 24 here now and was 28 earlier. I can't math that very good, but I think it's mid 70s. I think. It's kind of warmish when the brief amount of time I was outside, dashing from the house to the car and the car to Sandra's and then in reverse.
Well, my app says it's 74 degrees in Sydney.
Oh, there you go. Oh, hello, everybody. And hi, Pat. Somebody asked me, oh, chat is disabled. Thanks, Holly. I will fix. I have switched to, let's see. I switched and attendees can chat with everyone. There. How's the chat now? I don't see any chat. That isn't promising. Can you chat now? Anybody? 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 Nobody? Phew. Thank you, Kate. Okay, good. Chat is working. I switched from the webinar from my own account to the Hand Waving Academy account because the Hand Waving Academy needs the webinar package now, and it didn't make sense to be spending hundreds of dollars a month twice. So I switched to use the Academy account for this, but that means I have to reconfigure all the things, and I guess I missed the chat. Okay, I'm gonna look and see if I got that email that you just sent, Mom, so I can share your pretty pictures. You sent 2 sets, is that right?
It's the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
we'll just get them all downloaded and then we can look. I think it's nice to have the on loom ones too, though, because people might want to see or have questions about what it was like on the loom.
Mm.
I want to know anyway. Why isn't it opening? Come on, open now. Can I? No, of course I cannot. So organized us. So organized. Okay. There we go. Now I can see all the pictures, including those two. Okay, dandy. I'll start with that one. Oh, okay. Sorry, everybody. I think we're organized now. So this is the August 21st edition of Office Hours, and it is our last official normal office hours. Next month, turns out that Office Hours Day is on the same day that I go out to the Gaelic College to begin Master Weavers Level 4. And I think it might be kind of fun to do office hours from there. And then I'll have all my cohort mates there. It's a big class. There's 13 of us. That's bigger than we've ever had for the class. And people from across Canada and in the US are coming to the Gaelic College to take level 4. And this is, I believe, the first time level 4 has been offered since COVID. I mean, it was offered over the summer during Fiber Week, but it didn't happen. So this is the first time it's happened since COVID, which is why the group is so big. Which means that if I was doing office hours on Sunday the 18th, it would be from the Gaelic College with my classmates but it has to be, if we do it, we have to do it later because we're all going out for dinner at office hours o'clock and won't be back to campus until maybe an hour or an hour and a half after our usual start time. So if that works for you, Mom, we could still do it.
That's right when my book club is.
Ooh. Well, maybe I could, I mean, we would miss you very much, but I could press gang some of my classmates into bringing scarves so we could at least have a scarf report and wish you were here with us or there with us.
I'm sure that would be great.
I just think it might be kind of fun to be in the weaving studio there at the Gaelic College, show people what it looks like, that kind of thing. And talk maybe a little bit about the Master Weavers program if people are interested. I guess you guys can let me know if you're interested, or I could just ramble on about it, even if you're not interested. That skill is in my wheelhouse. Okay, for this month, let us begin as always with the scarf report. And I'm gonna
Which isn't a scarf this month, it's a shawl that I just finished. I wanted to try this draft out, and so I put a warp on the loom and not knowing for sure what I was going to do with it when I got finished, but I decided it's going to be a shawl. So let's see, if I stand up, you can see it a bit. And then Janet's got some pictures that probably show it better.
I do.
It's Bronson lace, and it has some turn sections in it so that it has kind of a triangular effect with plain weave between.
Here's what she's talking about. So as let's see, draw this section here, these triangle-y parts, that's regular Bronson. And come on, this triangle-y part is turned Bronson. So each of the little squares is made up of a triangle of regular and a triangle of turned. And when you don't have my lines in the way and you back out, there's that center line here. I'll just mark it briefly down the middle of each rectangle square thing that is plain weave. So let me zoom back out again. Those plain weave lines make those cool diagonals that go all the way across. Isn't that
I did not design this. I saw this draft. I think it was on a Facebook site, and I saved it, and now I can't find it. So I can't tell you where it came from.
But you have the draft.
I have the draft, but I don't know where I got it for sure.
Right. So I can't give credit to the person who posted it
No,
or look up where they got it.
Right. Don't know whether they designed it or whether they got it someplace. And I don't know for sure. I suppose I could look on handweaving.net and see if it's there.
Did you look for it in Strickler under turned Bronson?
Well, no. Does Strickler have turned Bronson?
A little bit, yeah. That's where we got the one that we did in Unraveling Lace.
Let's see here. Turned. Well, it doesn't. The index doesn't name it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to. No, it won't let me go through. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'll start sharing another picture. I thought I had this all organized. Start sharing.
I was just using colors that I already had, and so that's why I'm why the weft is white. I would have probably chosen a dark weft, but I did put those purple stripes in it.
Oh, and so there's like 2 shots of yellow between each of the weft colors?
Between each of the blocks, each of the squares.
So there's
all the same weft color except for those purple stripes.
And the weft is the white? Is that
white.
Correct? Okay.
White and purple.
So it looks like there's 2 picks of yellow between each of the blocks and 1 end of yellow between each of the blocks in the warp?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I had just done 1 end. The reason I did 2 picks in the weft is so that it didn't build up on the sides so much. I crossed them over in the middle.
You can see it right here.
Yeah, that's on the loom. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, it's good to have pictures on the loom. It looks like it's harder to see the lace while you were weaving than it is in the cloth, which is, I mean, kind of par for the course for lace, but was that true? Did you have trouble seeing the lace or?
Yeah, I had to, and once it's been washed, it shows up a lot more. Although when I looked at it from the side on the loom, it showed up more. Yeah,
that oblique angle really shows up patterns or interruptions in patterns. Ask me how I know. Same way as any other weaver. Okay, oops, and so I keep going into that other one. So that's the finished cloth, correct?
Right.
And this is finished cloth?
That's finished cloth, yeah.
and it's kind of turned sideways. The warp is going, or the weft rather, is those stripes are going across the width. Or
Right.
well, okay, that's not helpful because there's stripes in both directions, but
But the purple stripes are going weft-wise.
right.
Yeah, there were 9 different warp colors.
Oh,
And-
there it is again.
Yeah. And I repeated them, so there were 18 stripes going across. It was about 33 inches wide in the reed, set at 20 EPI.
20 EPI with 8.2 Orlon.
Right. And it finished up at about 30 inches wide. So it didn't pull up much during wet finishing.
I was going to ask a question. I don't remember what it is, but there's something in chat. So let's see if there's a question there. 625, Strickler 625. By any chance?
625. Let me have a look. 625.
Now I want to run and get my Strickler too.
Well, yes, that is it. That is it. Thank you, whoever that was that figured that out.
It was Faye. It was Faye, and I didn't find my Strickler. But
It's
Faye, that's
625.
excellent.
That's good because Strickler is in the public domain, so.
Well, no, it's under copyright, but it is.
Well, you can use them with attribution for items to sell.
Yeah.
With attribution.
Well, what she's giving us is drafts, the threadings. She's not giving us projects.
Oh, well, that's right. But this is the draft. This is it.
Yeah.
And you can see there, if you have this, that the tie-up has 12, requires 12 treadles. Actually, 14 treadles, because it uses A and B for the tie downs. Well, what I did was to press 2 treadles at once, and then I could shrink it down to, I think, let's see, I forget how many treadles I got it down to. But like around 8, I think. Let's see. I think it was 8 treadles.
8 treadles. I just remembered which stack my Strickler was living in and ran to get it, so I didn't hear all of what you were saying. You were able to reduce it to 8 from the 12 shown?
Yes, but I had to step on 2 treadles at a time most of the time.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but I didn't want to lift all those because this requires lifting. Well, you can see that if you have it, treadle 12 is exactly the same as the B treadle. It's just the same thing, and that's lifting everything except shaft A. And obviously that was the heaviest one to lift.
And treadle 1 is the same as treadle A as well.
Yes, right.
So you could reduce this even further, and maybe this is what you did, but by having a treadle tied to 1 and a treadle tied to 2 and a treadle tied to other combinations.
Right. So I could press 1 and well, you can see in this tie-up, treadles 2 and 3 have the same pattern treadle. 4 and 5 have the same pattern treadle. So going across, the same, there's two with the same pattern treadles. And if you just use one or two to go with them, I'm not explaining it very well, but anyway, I could show you the draft, but if anybody's interested, but yeah, I did not realize that these were in here. Very cool. There's a lot of them.
I am gonna just really quickly, and yeah, the one that we did in class, Mom, was 613. And I think these are all on this same threading. All those turned Bronsons.
Yes, 613 is what we did.
Okay, I'm gonna see. Are you folks familiar with Tim's treadle reducer? I'm gonna just show you guys how to use it in case you are not. There may be somebody in the crowd who is not. So let's see, that means, oh, I'm already sharing my screen. Go me. Sorry, okay. So here I am. I just searched for Tim's treadle reducer in the Google Webs and got this result. And so I clicked on the first thing in the list, and then I went straight to the treadle reducer. And I'm going to say the number of shafts in the drafts. This is draft 625. Oops. The tea fairy brought me a lovely cup of tea just before we started, but that means I have to negotiate around a large mug of tea. All right, and it has 12 treadles in the, no, 8 shafts, 12 treadles. And let's just see, do we have, can we get it down to 8? We know we can because Mom already said that we could. So you put in your parameters, the number of shafts of the draft, the number of treadles in the draft, and the number of treadles you'd like to reduce it to. And then you click in the grid to make it match the tie-up in the book. So the tie-up in the book has treadle 1, treadle A connected just to shaft 1, and treadle B connected to everything else. And then treadle 1, pattern treadle 1, which is the third piece of wood on the loom, also just connected to shaft 1. And for turned Bronson, all of these 2 shafts are your tie down shafts. So all the way across, you alternate those. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. This will sound very much like summer and winter for folks who are familiar with summer and winter. And then on these pairs, they have got, let's see, on 2 and 3, they have shaft 6.
Yes.
And actually 6 is everything from 4 across, rather.
Right.
Or 2, pattern, the thing that they have labeled as 2 across. And then this one is like this. Can you check my work and make sure I'm doing it right? I'm just trying to match the, no, I'm not doing it right. Because that should have more things turned on.
You don't have enough treadles, I don't, well.
No, it's 14. That's the problem. It's not 12, it's 14.
Yes, there's 12 pattern ones, and then they plus the AB, so
Right.
14,
So I have
right.
to start all over. Okay, make a grid. So it's
Sorry.
important to put the right informations in when you start, or else you get to start over. So if you're familiar with Bronson, here, let me just do this for a sec. If you're familiar with Bronson, you may know this shape. This is part of just about all Bronson tie-ups. You've got shaft 1 tied to 1 treadle for your ground, shaft 2 and everything else tied to something else, that's for your floats. And then you have all the other treadles tied to shaft 2. When you're doing turned Bronson, you need pairs for all of the pattern things, like in summer and winter. So instead of just having one pattern treadle for each block or group of blocks, you need two. So you need 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way across. And let's see, they have this one connected everywhere. They have a space, and then this is connected to all things. And this one is connected to 2 fewer all things. And this one is connected to 2 fewer all things, which is 6 across on the top. Oh, criminy, it's supposed to be 7. Oh,
Well,
why am I having such a brain fart about this? Supposed to go from 6 to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, yeah, okay, A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, it should be, oh, right, because I can't count to 2. That's better. Excellent. All right, then 2 of those and 4 of these. Okay, I think I have finally got it in. And now we scrolling down, and you have to say how long you're willing to wait, because if it's an impossible problem, it will just continue to think forever and ever and ever unless you say give up after a certain amount of time. So let's say 2 minutes. I don't think it'll probably take 2 minutes. I'm not going to say 2 hours because, you know, our time is limited. And let's just see what it says. Ta-da! Here we, oops, close. Here is a solution. It's down to 8 treadles, as Mom said. And you have to step on combinations of them. So like in the original one, this chart here says in the original one for treadle 5, which was, let's see, I'm going to annotate again. Treadle 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This guy. This is telling us that we need to step on treadles 3 and 5 from the new one. So annotate, clear. So treadle 5 in the original one was shaft 2, shaft 6, and shaft 7. If we use, what was it, 3 and 5 from the new one, that's going to get us 2 and 6 and 6 again, which is redundant because we already have it, and 7. But the combination is the same as right here.
yeah, mine was different. I figured it out myself. I didn't use Tim's treadle reducer. But they both work just fine.
Sure. It may have been these same combinations, just in different orders. Tim's does not give you an elegant solution. It gives you the first solution that the computer software comes up with.
Yeah.
So there, and it doesn't give you all the solutions. It just gives you the first one that it comes up with. Let's see.
So once you get the hang of it, it's not hard.
Well, and didn't you say that you tied things up? You divided the tie up some anyway to protect your new bionic knee, hip.
Well, that's why I didn't want to be lifting as many with my right foot.
Right.
So
because you have the treadles available, right? You just didn't.
I have 4. How many do I have on that loom? 12 on that loom.
Which is the number of unique treadle combinations in that tie-up anyway.
Yeah, but I didn't need, I couldn't do it the way it said here, but I shrunk it down further. Anyway, that worked great.
Cool. Holly is saying somebody in Facebook reduced it 10 shafts. It must have meant 10 treadles because it's 8 shafts to begin with. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mom, for the extended scarf report and show and tell. Oh, hey, I'm just looking. You put plain weave up the edge. I can see the edge there where it's around your neck.
Yeah,
Is there just a little tiny plain weave border?
yeah.
Do you want to talk about why you did that? We talked about it in one of our study groups, and I thought that was very useful.
Because lace has a tendency to beat into too much if you don't have something to kind of as a gauge. It's very difficult to make this look really nice. For me, I have a hard time because, you know, the lace, the weft beats tend not to beat in exactly the same, even though you're working on making it the same. So it's pretty good. The
It
other
looks
side is not
fabulous.
as good.
The other side?
The other selvage
Oh,
I had a
salvage.
lot harder time with.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Did
on
you
the
try to
left.
scoot your butt on the what's the thing you said on bench? That's it. Wow. On the bench, an inch to the other side?
Well, I think the difference was that I had a single thread of the warp in a dent instead of two. And then I had a single thread for the floating selvage. And I think that just made it harder to make it look nice.
You had a floating selvage on it, even though you had a plain weave.
Oh, no, I didn't have a floating selvage. That's right. I did not. But on the one side, I had two threads in one dent, and on the other side, I didn't. Now, if I'd used Holly's method and put in the fishing line, that probably would have solved my problem. But I didn't.
Whatever floats your fishing boat. Okay, so if you have any further questions about, or many questions about Mom's shawl or turned Bronson, fire away. Well, just in the meantime, since I accidentally shared the picture a couple of times anyway, I am going to talk about a coverlet. Kathy Sobe, am I saying your name right? I always want it to be like, no, what's the word I'm thinking of? I think it's sherbet, but that's not right. Sorbet, that's the anyway. Kathleen sent me a picture of a coverlet that she had seen in a she told me all the details. You could probably answer this faster than I can find it, Kathy. She'd seen in a museum. Here we go. Got that email open right here. Heritage Museum in Townsend, Tennessee. So the information that she sent me, I just realized I have 9,000 windows open, and I'm going to close them all because not all of them are things that need to be shared. Don't close that. A number of them are turned Bronson shawl pictures. I don't know why there's so many open. Close. Why am I forgetting that I can just click like that? Click, click, click the turtle reducer. Goodbye. Dun, dun, dun. Close that email. Okay. Phew. Sorry. So she sent me two things, what I will share with you now. Here's the information from the website, I guess, with a little information about the coverlet. And it says, among other things, the warp is one ply tight twist linen that it's cream in color due to age. The weft is one ply loose twist wool that is blue and pink in color. The Tennessee treble and table patterns make up the coverlet's edges. The pattern sunrise with window sash is found in the body of the coverlet. The edges are self-edging, selvages. The seam is well matched, but it's visible on both sides of the coverlet. It's in good condition, et cetera, et cetera. And she also sent another picture, which I believe she probably took herself. So I went hunting, and she wanted to know if I knew anything about these things. And it's quite touching that you guys think I know a lot about overshot patterns. I know a lot about weaving overshot. I don't know that much about the actual patterns themselves, but I have books. I have a lot of books. So I went hunting through the books. I looked in Handweaver source book by Dawson. There are 2 Tennessee patterns, neither of which is Tennessee trouble. And I looked in at various other places, but the short answer is that I looked in this Francis Goodrich's Brown Book of Weaving Drafts, which is drafts from Appalachia. And there's one in here called Tennessee Trouble. And it looks nothing like that coverlet. Absolutely nothing like it. So I went also through, I skimmed to some extent through the first volume 1 of Helen Bress's coverlet book, which has got 500 pages of overshot coverlets in it, but it doesn't have them by name. So I couldn't just look up Tennessee trouble or even Tennessee. So I skimmed through looking for anything with large tables. Didn't come up with anything there either, but I did not spend as much time as I could have going through this. It may still be in there. So this is not a dead end. It's just an end that hasn't come to life yet. However, since I could find nothing for you in the books, and I wasn't sure from your question if it was, I want the draft so I can weave the thing, or if it was, do I know more about the history? I don't know more about the history, though I am interested. The information says it was made by Luana Irwin of Huntland, Tennessee, between about 1915 and 1933. I was interested to read that even in 1933, she wove it with a linen warp, because in this area, people had stopped weaving coverlets with linen long before 1933 because cotton became readily available and it was much less labor intensive and less expensive. So interesting that there's a linen coverlet from that late. Oh, good. See, and this is why I was excited to see that Pat Donald had joined us today, because Pat knows a lot about counterpanes and coverlets from that area. And she says of coverlets Wilson and Kennedy. Does that have the draft, Pat? Is that, or is it just another source to look at? I was hoping I'd be able to ask you. I had meant to send you email in advance, but you know how time is and me. At any rate, in case your question was, I would like, where can I find the draft because I would like to weave it, I opened up the pictures. Let's see here. I opened up the pictures like this, and this one is now rotated. This is the way the picture came to me, but I realized as I was peering at it that it was actually woven this way, so that the rectangles are taller warp-wise and narrower weft-wise. And I also had this picture. This is a different section of the coverlet. I zoomed way in, and it was also like printed so that the warp was running across the page rather than up and down the page. So I zoomed right in on those little babies and derived the draft as close as I could with the colors in place. Now, I am not sure that I have the right number of ends or the right number of picks, because the way you tell how many ends are in there is by counting the little teeny tiny halftone stripes. And it's pretty hard to zoom in enough to count them accurately without the picture becoming so pixelated you can't really tell. Like when I peer at this section here, how many halftone stripes are there? I don't know. There's at least, you know, 1, 2, this might be 2 or 3, a little hard to tell, 4, 5. There's some in there, but how many? I don't know. So I approximated based on the size of the blocks and the number of little halftone lines I could reliably count. And the other part of the element that makes it a little tricky to figure out how big the blocks are is because, like it said in the description, the wool is loosely plied, so it bloomed a lot where it was floating. So the blocks look much bigger where the wool is floating than when it's interlaced. So it's kind of hard to tell how many picks are going on here and there. At any rate, this on the right was my best attempt at coming up with the draft and putting the colors in place. Can I zoom in? No, of course I can't. That would be too easy. For, let's see, this area is this picture. And this picture is this area down here, or really just part of it. Like, oops, oh, dear me. What's happening? Oh, Windows. Oh, Windows, oh, Windows. So zoom in over here. Zoom in over here. Zoom. Like this part. Oh, is it as painful to watch as it is to hear myself talking? Zoom out and scroll, switch. Oh, well, anyway, that's that part there. Here are these threes with these threes. See, here it doesn't look like that weft has bloomed to cover it all, but over here in the actual coverlet, these floats poof way out and cover up the halftones in between them. Almost look like solid columns there. At any rate, my point is that this is a pretty good approximation of how the visible parts of the coverlet were woven. And I am happy to send that to you, Kathleen. But you will have to, if you have, like if you can zoom in on that picture more than I can, or if you have other pictures, or if you can go look at the thing, you might be able to more accurately get the block sizes right. But I'm fairly confident that the blocks are at least in the right order. Okay, so Pat has said Wilson and Kennedy have their own style of draft comparison, also reference Atwater. Okay, sorbet, okay, not sorbet then. I think we've had this conversation before. You'd think I would remember from one time to the next. And Kathleen says, oh, they found it, did find it in of coverlets. Well, there you go. Okay, there you are. So that is that one done. Excellent. So then another question that was asked was if I would demonstrate the shaft shuffler in Fiberworks. So I can. Holly, I don't know if you saw my my follow-up question. If you can describe to me either what you were doing when it did not work or what you were trying to do, then I can maybe give you a demonstration that's more useful, more targeted, rather than just saying, here's what you do. But I can certainly show you, here's what you do. And since I happen to have a draft open, I can show you right there. So here is Fiberworks. Mom, are you seeing my Fiberworks?
Yes.
Okay. So shaft shuffler is a thing I think you might need to have silver for. I'm not sure that it's in bronze. I'd have to fire up my version of bronze to see if that's true. But in silver, in Windows, on the tool menu, you can find shaft shuffler. I'm not entirely certain where it is on Mac. I would have to open up my Mac and look at that, but I can do it if people need to know. So you select it, and that puts you in shaft shuffling mode. It's like some of the other modes in the Windows version. It's turned on and off. You can tell if it's on by looking again at the menu, and there's a little check mark next to shaft shuffler. And now, yes?
See that Holly answered what she was trying to do.
Excellent. Let me look. Okay. That was not where she said it. Oh, Anne is saying that shaft shuffler is in max bronze, so that's excellent. Okay. Holly was trying to move threads on 7 and 8 to 1 and 2. Okay. So I have a 4 shaft thing open right now, but we'll look at an 8 shaft one in a second. The principle is the same. So I'm in shaft shuffling mode, and if I point at anything right now, you can see my mouse. I think you can see my mouse. It's just the regular arrow pointer thing until I move it to point up into the threading, where it turns into this little double arrow up and down with some lines between. Or if I point in the treadling, it looks like the same thing rotated 90 degrees. It's called shaft shuffler, but it does the same thing in the threading and in the treadling. So what you do then is point at the shaft you want to move. So I'm going to try moving shaft 3 up to shaft 4, let's say. So I've got my mouse pointing at shaft 3, and it doesn't matter where in the line of shaft 3 I'm pointing. I just have to be in that right row. And I'm going to click with my left mouse button and hold my finger down. And you see now there's a blue line all the way across shaft 3. And if I keep holding the mouse button and I drag my mouse down, 3 swaps with 2. And if I drag it down a little bit further, now that blue line comes down to shaft 1. Wherever I drag it, the line with the row that has the blue line was my original shaft 3, and it kind of shuffles, hence the name, through the others. So it's shaft 3 that I'm moving. Shafts 1 and 2 and 4 stay in the same order relative to each other, and I'm just moving 3 through the crowd. It's like I had a deck of 4 cards or a hand of 4 cards, and they're in a certain order, and I take a card out of one place and I put it in someplace else, but the other cards are still all in the same arrangement relative to themselves. So now I let go with it still in place of shaft 3. So now I'm going to grab shaft 3 and I'm going to move it up to shaft 4. Now you may be wondering, why is it nothing is changing in the drawdown when I move the threading around? Watch what happens in the tie-up while I move the set of threads that was originally on shaft 3 around. The tie-up is moving to compensate. So there is actually no impact in the drawdown in the cloth when you drag a shaft out of position. It's just like, you probably know that if you have your treadles tied up a certain way, if you tie up your treadles in a different order and then change the order in which you step on them to compensate, you still get the same fabric. So that's why it doesn't matter if you put your tabby treadles to the left, or you put your tabby treadles to the right, or you put your tabby treadles in the center or on the outsides, as long as you step on everything in the appropriate order for where they're tied up, then you still get normal cloth, or you get the cloth you get the same cloth. It doesn't matter if you tie up your twill 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 4, or if you tie it up 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1, 2, as long as you step on things in the appropriate order. Same thing in the threading. It doesn't matter if you put a particular set of threads on the front frame or the back frame of that goes up and down on your loom shaft, as long as the tie-up compensates or matches the place they're located, so that when you step on the treadles, you get the cloth. So you can do the same thing over in the treadling. So now I'm pointing at the treadling, and I've got the, here, I'll grab the column, the second column. I'm going to click with my left mouse button and drag it around. And again, it's shuffling that set of treadles through the columns while it leaves the others in relation to it, in the same order relative to each other. Let's see, I'm going to switch to 8 shafts and treadles. So let's say I had, you know what, I'm going to open a new thing with 8 shafts and treadles so that I don't accidentally mess up Kathleen's coverlet draft. And I'm going to fill the warp in with, let's go with point. Because it'll be easy to see what's happening. And I will do the same in the left, and I will, just for the moment, put that in the tie up so that we can see what's going on, and then get the shaft shuffler. So Holly, you said you were trying to take 7 and 8 down to 1 and 2. So I could grab 7 and pull it down to 1, which means now now my deck of cards goes 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, right? And then I would grab 8 and drag it down to 2. That makes sense? And you can see this, that the tie-up has changed to compensate. Do the same thing if I wanted in the treadling. And now the tie-up looks perfectly normal again. Or not normal, like it's in the same order that it was before. One thing I do, if I have a bunch of things that I want to move, like a set of 4 treadles that I want to move. Let's see, I'm going to tie up, twill, repeat. Nope, that's not what I wanted to tie up, repeat by quarters. Yes, I did do that. Oh. Tie up, repeat by quarters. Wrong thing. Geez, by quarters. There we go. We're going to turn it 90 degrees and we're going to change the face. This is a typical turn twill tie up. Now let's say I want to take the right half and put it on the left half instead. What I normally do, if I have a bunch, or what I always wish I had remembered to do, if I have a bunch that I need to move, is to start with the highest number first, if it's going to the left, or the one farthest away, the one that'll be interior, kind of, so to speak. Because then what I can do, I can grab treadle 8, or it might be shaft 8, and drag it all the way to the left. And then I can grab the next one and drag it all the way to the left. And then the next one on the right side and drag it all the way to the left. And the last one now on the right side and drag it all the way to the left. It's easier than trying to get it into the right spot in the middle if you can just drag it all the way to the left. Because especially depending on your zoom factor, it might be hard to target the right spot in the center. Does that help? Does that address your question, Holly? Jean Kavanaugh is saying that shaft shuffler is not in Windows Bronze. So it may be in Mac bronze, but not Windows bronze. If you have it, it would be under the tools menu. And I seem to recall that it is not in bronze. So that's probably me speaking from my Windows familiarity, so that it's in one and not in the other. Oh, good. I'm glad that that helped, Holly. All right. If I want the fabric to change, I need to use the shaft shuffler and change my tie-up. Yes, just shuffling is not going to change your drawdown to any. If you want the fabric to change, you need to change the relationship of the tie-up to the threading and or treadling, which is not what the shaft shuffler does. Where the shaft shuffler is particularly useful is if you have something, oh, here's an example. Let me see if I can find, without taking too much time. In the overshot study group that I am in, we did overshot pattern double weave as a sample exchange. Where would that be? Weaving, study groups, overshot, on opposites. Then it's these 8 shaft. Yeah, okay. No, not that. That's not what I wanted. Open. Janet Lee, without divisions, with colors, which is the one I want to shoot. There it is on 4. Right, let me try again. Sorry. Least surrender with colors and tabby. Least surrender with colors. Let's just try that. Okay, here's least surrender with the colors in. And step 1 of turning overshot into overshot pattern double weave is to fill in the parallel, the opposite thread after each end in the original. And if you only have 4 shafts, then you have to do that within the 4 shafts you have available, and it works, which is super cool. But if you have 8 shafts, you can do it on 8. And instead of doing the, for those of you who've done this, normally we would say extended parallel shafts shift by 2. I was going to do add shafts above like this. But then this is pretty hard to thread. It's still like a flea jumping all over the place. If I get my shaft shuffler involved, tools, shaft shuffler, I could say, okay, make this first thing a straight draw. So I'm going to zoom in. First thread, we'll leave it on shaft 1, sure. Let's grab the next thread, whichever shaft it's on, which happens to be 5, and put it on the next shaft on the loom, 2. And now the next thread is already on 3. Very handy. Let's grab the next thread, whichever shaft it's on, and move it to shaft 4. The next one has put itself on 5. That's dandy. Let's grab the next one and put it on 6. So I have turned this now into what's much easier to keep track of. This threading is much easier to keep track of. And this is how I actually threaded the project too. With the right colors in the right places and that sort of thing. But I used the shaft shuffler to simplify the threading to make it easier. Another place.
There's nothing tied up on shaft 8.
Or 6 or 4 or 2, because when I did that parallel, I didn't tell it what to do with the tie-up.
Oh, that's why it looks kind of funny.
Yeah, so here, there was that stage, and then I did warp, parallel, repeat, apply, and now it gave me the new threads, but it didn't know what I wanted to do with the tie-up.
Ah, so you have to put that in.
Yeah, so there's more logicking to be done here. This is not how you could just go and make an 8 shaft overshot pattern double weave draft. but it is how you could use the shaft shuffler to simplify your threading. And I did the same thing, come to think of it, in the double trouble workshop I taught last year. Teaching. No, that's not. Oh, there's always things in the way of what I want to look at. Documents. Teaching double trouble 2020 drafts. Let's look at the. Oh, actually, we don't even need to look at that. Oh, we can though. Double width. Folded and shuffled. So here was my original draft before I folded it to make it double width. And then I went to tools, fold double, because I can do that. Fold double. And then you get this, what looks like gibberish threading, hard to follow. This is another place where the shaft shuffler is super handy. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take that first thread and drag it to shaft 1, and the second thread and drag it to shaft 2, and the third thread and drag it to 3, and the fourth to 4, and the fifth to 5, and the sixth to 6. And then look, that threading is way more straightforward and easier to follow than the original one was. And so when I'm designing a threading for a class and I expect people to be able to thread it or to get it threaded in a fixed amount of time, I want to give them something that is easier to thread than that original thing. You can do the same thing in the treadling too. And in this case, I shuffled things so that the treadling was a walking tie-up, so that, let's see, left, right, left, right, left, right, there's left, right. And that now, if you start at the top, you start at the outside treadles and you alternate left, right, and you move in, and then you repeat that. That's quite easy to treadle. It's a lot easier to keep track of than that original thing. So again, if you are trying to weave a piece of cloth in a round robin workshop where people are breathing down your neck because you got to get to, they want to get in the loom and there's lots of commotion going on, simplifying the treadling to make it as quick and straightforward to follow is a good thing. It means the tie-up doesn't make as much sense, but the tie-up you only interact with. You only have to get down there under the loom and tie the loom up once. And once it's done, it kind of just takes care of itself. You have to sit there and treadle for the entire time you're weaving your cloth. I would much rather have the tie-up not make sense, but be able to get it done and get it right, and then have the weaving be, if not effortless, then easier. And the same with the threading. I would rather spend more energy on the tie-up than the threading, and rather spend more energy on the threading than the treadling, because I know how my attention likes to wander when I'm treadling, but I can usually focus long enough to thread. So figure out where your mistakes tend to be or your inattention tends to be, and simplify that part of things is my philosophy and advice. Okay. Up sharing. What else is there? And I see chats and I see. Yeah, Kate is saying she uses the shaft shuffler to change the treadling to and the threading to straight draw, so she makes fewer mistakes. Exactly what I was just talking about. Oh, and I'd already answered this. Okay. So, what else you got for us, guys? Anything? We've been here for an hour, so if we're done, we can be done. But if you've got anything you'd like to ask or discuss, you've got half an hour more. feel like we should have the Jeopardy music playing. Can you guys hear the music on my husband's video game? He's playing down the hall. Can you hear it, Mom? Today was the Prince George Fiber Arts Guild Sunday seminar. It was on cochineal natural dyeing, but I had a really hard time hearing it. And when I'd first gotten there, somebody had said there's something funny with the sound. So I just assumed that there was something funny with the sound, and that's why I was having trouble. And then when I got home, Ron said, here are the batteries from your hearing aids. So I had been wearing my hearing aids without batteries. It doesn't work very well. But I can hear his music, so I must have batteries in now. Anything, anyone?
So did you decide what's going to happen next month?
I think, what I hope will happen is that I can talk some of the other folks coming from Master Weavers into sitting down with me in the weaving studio, or maybe in our classroom, and just yakking.
So
For a while.
2 hours later than normal, huh?
Well, dinner is at 5:30. We probably won't finish eating until 6:30 or 7, and then get back 7:30. Yeah, 2 hours is probably the right time to have it. 8 o'clock, as long as people aren't too wiped out. Some, well, and other people aren't too wiped out. Some of those folks are flying in and don't, they fly in at 12:30 in the morning. But I don't have to do that, and I'm the one that has to be the most alert for office hours. So
You have a question?
I see. Are we going to have a sort of library in our academy? Library, we don't have anything planned that I would call a library, but we do have what the sort of lingo for is it's a knowledge base. So it's a reference catalog of information and videos. And in addition to that, I am hopeful that we'll have regular blog posts and that kind of thing. And one of the topics I'm hoping that we can get some others that we can, we'll write ourselves, but invite others to write on is, what are your top 10 books? Jennifer Moore, what are your go-to books for double weave? Or Laura Fry, what are your go-to books for, just in general? Or what are your, so like bibliographies of books that are on a topic. Yeah, so I don't know if that is getting at your questions. We don't have anything like a book report planned, but we do have office hours planned. So that could certainly continue to be part of my office hours when I have them, if there's time. The office hours need to be focused on questions if people have questions, but if there's just, nobody's got a question, I can talk about a book. Oops. The book I was going to, I held up several of them, but the books that I have around me at the moment are several of these coverlet related books. There's two in, I don't know if they're edited. They're both edited by Barbara Miller and Deb Shillow, but they are this kind of style, full of drafts. And this one has got like pictures of people in the area, the weavers in the area, and then some stuff about their, the way their notation at the time, which is, I know, very blurry, but it's not actually much sharper in person. So, but these are the pages of the actual brown book that this book is like designed to look like. There was a brown book by Frances Goodrich in which she collected a bunch of drafts and drew out drawdowns and stuff. So the original, there's photos of the pages of the original book and the original drawdowns, and then at the back of the book, the same information in a modern notation with, I don't know if those are Fiberworks or Pixelum or what, but then, you know, some drafting software was used to input all of these. But this one, for instance, on this page, that one right there, that's the one called Tennessee Trouble, which looks nothing. Well, okay, there's some little bits of it that resemble that coverlet. On the other hand, it said that Tennessee Trouble and Table were the borders, and that this snow shine something were the center. And I couldn't find that snow or sunshine or whatever it was draft name anywhere. Kathleen's asking if I've read The Weaving Roses of Rhode Island. I have held it in my hand and skimmed it, but it was not my book to keep, so I didn't get to read it as closely as I wanted. And I've had it on my like my wish list for a while, but I haven't indulged yet. What I did just indulge in, this Master Weavers Level 4 that I'm about to do is all about color and texture. So there were a bunch of fun books on the reading list and the book list to bring for class that I had never seen or heard of, all about really bumpy, lumpy, textural weaving. And I've ordered a couple of those to come. I think they're both coming from the UK, because I didn't have them and they weren't in the local guild library, and they weren't in the slightly less local guild library either. So I thought, what the heck, I'll just order them and hopefully they'll arrive in time. So can't remember the names of them right now. Designing, weaving, texture, something. I mean, the titles aren't very sexy, but the photos on the covers are pretty cool. Lumpy, bumpy, squishy stuff. Okay. So I guess we're done. So I will post. Let's just say I'll post the weekend of the 18th, 19th of September and let you know if it's going to work out, if it seems feasible. And I guess I better, even if I hope it's going to work, I better not make any hard and fast promises, because who knows when I get there what the situation is going to be. Usually there's kind of a sitting area where I could set up and do my thing without intruding on what other people are doing. But if I just better not promise, because I mean, even doing it in the weaving studio, that means somebody would have to either unlock it and let me in, or I think I can sweet talk her into doing that. She's a friend of mine, but it's not my choice to make. So my hope is that next month, which will be September 18th, Sunday, at 8 p.m. Atlantic, which is an hour ahead of Eastern, 4 hours ahead of Pacific, that we can do an office hours on location at the Gaelic College. That's my hope. Okie dokie. Mom, anything to add or say before we sign off?
No, Don't think so.
Okay.
Yep. Enjoy the rest of our summers.
Yeah.
Starting to come to a close, I guess, even though it doesn't feel like it right now around here.
No. Well, it's getting into the nice part of the year. Where the
We're in
hot.
a heat wave again this week. So,
Do not
yeah.
approve, do not like. So, well, and things are getting busy here now with the cruise ship. So,
Yeah.
and it will be fall and fall colors. And then before you know it, the snow will fly.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a nice month. See you in September.